At Teach for America, we work in some of the most marginalized communities, some of the communities where there's some of the biggest gaps in student achievement. And we believe that every single one of those children is brilliant. Every single one of those children has infinite potential, but it's on us as the adults to figure out how we close that gap.
We're at the start of back to school season, and Teach for America New York is back at the New York Stock Exchange. They're a nonprofit that helps place teachers in underserved communities, closing educational gaps. I'm joined now by their executive director, Tia Morris, and their regional board member, Kevin Pemberton. Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Tia, what is Teach for America New York's mission?
Teach for America is a leadership development organization that believes that every child should not only have access to an excellent education, but the ability to achieve economic mobility. And so we do that by finding incredible talent, nurturing them, putting them in communities that need the most, and then developing them over time. And that teaching talent is a transformative experience that creates activists for life.
All right. And Kevin, how did you get involved with Teach for America New York?
Well, congratulations on TFA's 35th anniversary. I'm a Brooklyn native, and I'm a long advocate of New York City education. I am one of four boys and a twin, and our story begins when my mother and father started looking for education opportunities for us. They were immigrants from the Caribbean, and for us, we saw education as education for opportunity, social capital, as well as mobility and resiliency for the household.
And Tia, what is your story? I know that you were involved with the Corps in 1998, teaching in Harlem. Can you share more about that?
Don't say that too loudly, because my new teachers, I did the Corps before some of them were born. But I had the privilege of starting Teach for America in 1998. Prior to that, there was something in me that always wanted to be an educator. I was the type of kid who made my little brother and cousins sit and do schoolwork in the summertime. And so I always had a drive for helping, a drive for educating. And when I got to college, I realized that education was truly the great equalizer. It was a key to opportunity, and I wanted to unlock that opportunity for future generations.
Tia, I want to pull on that thread because it does, for us, it realized that there were so many opportunities. It wasn't about achievement so much, right? In that gap, it was really about the opportunity gap. And I saw that similarly to you when I got to college and realized that it was about the network and avenues that were closed off to me, potentially, if I did not prepare through education as an outcome.
And of course, I feel like education prepares us for the workforce. And with AI expanding into almost every industry right now, how do you think teachers can better prepare students for a digital-first workforce?
At Teach for America, we believe that technology could help expand opportunity, but also really enhance education. And so when we think about leveraging technology within classrooms, there are numerous ways that technology and AI in particular can help to revolutionize what's happening in classrooms, to help to accelerate learning, to help provide remediation, and to help in the same way the advent of the calculator allowed us to, you don't have to do that math in your head anymore. AI is an excellent tool to be able to help us to think about how is it that we can get better, faster, smarter, and do it in a way that doesn't leave anybody behind. And so we are leveraging AI, leveraging technology to revolutionize what we're doing in the classroom, how we're training teachers, how students are learning, and how it is we're really preparing our young people for jobs of the future.
Can you share more about exactly how you're training teachers to teach AI and new technology in classrooms, Kevin?
When I think about AI and particularly automation in the classroom, it gives teachers an opportunity to return to what they do best, right? There tends to be an administrative burden at times in the classroom, and not only for the classroom, but even for industry. And we realize now with AI and automation, for platforms, we can get back to more personalized learning, modern curriculum, if you will, advantages. Teachers can be more creative, more strategic in their approach in the classroom, and unlock what I call that advantage to that sort of student ratio now.
100%. I totally agree with Kevin with that. When we think about the use of technology and AI, there are a number of use cases within the school setting that tech and AI can solve. So when we think about chronic absenteeism, which is a problem that plagues educators across this country, there are tools that could help leverage that. So for example, Modern Classrooms is a tech solution that was created by one of our alumni of Teach for America, and it allows for educators to record their lessons, to automate them, so that way students aren't in class, aren't in school, they could actually still get those lessons at home. Or if they're in school and they need additional time, they can actually have that sort of repeat of the lesson while the teacher is working in small groups. And that's just one of many, many examples. Playground IEP, for example, is a tech solution that leverages AI to help support students with special needs. Or Planning Period is another tech solution that another one of our alumni founded that allows teachers to revolutionize how they lesson plan. So there's so many tech solutions, so many AI solutions that quite honestly are truly the wave of the future as we think about what it is that education will look like.
I can't help but think about with the advent of AI and now the opportunity to deploy that more broadly and to scale, students that had historically been at risk, we can now close that gap with AI. And so these are sort of the advantages I see going forward with better deployment, if you will, and greater adoption in the classroom.
Can you speak about how you are training teachers to leverage AI in classrooms?
One of the things that Kevin said just sparked something for me in terms of really thinking about an opportunity gap. At Teach for America, we work in some of the most marginalized communities, some of the communities where there's some of the biggest gaps in student achievement. And we believe that every single one of those children is brilliant. Every single one of those children has infinite potential, but it's on us as the adults to figure out how we close that gap. And so AI can be a lever for this. However, we notice that if you look at historically at technology and the way that it rolls out across this country, the most marginalized communities tend to be the ones that get it last or don't get it at all. And so one of the first things we have to do is really socialize our teachers to feel comfortable with it, to feel comfortable in using it, to feel comfortable in leveraging it, as well as in introducing that to our students. Every single one of the Teach for America teachers in New York and across the country received AI training as part of their new teacher training. Every single one of them. They learned how to build AI tools, how to leverage AI to build solutions for their classrooms. So every single one of them. In addition to that, we are bringing in other tools that are allowing sort of machine learning tech solutions that are allowing teachers to truly be able to accelerate what's happening in the classroom. And in addition, we're utilizing tech solutions for things such as Kevin referred to the ability to really gain additional time, right, to recover time. When we think about the coaching that needs to happen of teachers, the real-time coaching, if I am deficient in a skill, there are actually tech solutions and AI solutions that can meet those needs. And so at Teach for America, we're deploying a number of these solutions to ensure that our teachers are ready for their own efficacy in terms of their skill level, but also the way it is that they work with their students, and then the tools that they provide to their students to ensure that their students are also beginning to leverage that.
Are there any parameters in place to make sure students are using AI responsibly?
This question you raise is a very important one, because when we think about the reason why many educators may shy away, or some educators may shy away from AI, it is likely out of fear that students are cheating, students might be using it. Are they actually writing their papers? The thing is, innovation can't exist in an environment of fear. We can't let fear dictate how we move, and we can't let that be the thing that stops our communities from advancing. And so while there are instances in which students may leverage AI in ways that aren't the most beneficial, there are a number of safeguards that can be put in place. So for example, if a teacher introduces AI in a responsible way to the classroom from the beginning, then a student doesn't have to lie, they don't have to sneak. The teacher can say, you know what, you can leverage ChatGPT to help you formulate an outline, right? because could be something that could help them to transform some words that they have into an outline, and then they can use that themselves to build it out into an essay. There are numerous programs that sort of monitor how much of an essay or how much of something is computer generated, but I'd like to not lead from the orientation of fear. I like to lead from the orientation of how do we more socialize this? How do we help students to leverage this as a tool? How do we help students to see this as an aid and not something that they have to sneak and do? And similarly, how do we make sure that parents understand this as well? So when students are home and they're doing homework, a parent can understand how they might leverage it or not. And so I think it starts with, like, again, building that comfort, building that dexterity, understanding how you integrate it into the fabric of the classroom, as opposed to making it this sort of add-on thing that a student has to sort of sneak and do on the side.
And we're talking about the classroom on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. How can leaders help to impact education?
Well, one, I first believe it's a partnership, right? I think about, AI and robotics and now you think about automation. Recently, the World Economic Forum had mentioned that there's about 14, if you will, million that will be displaced, if you will, with AI. But on the flip side of that, I see the opportunity, right? At the same time, there's 69, million jobs, being added, right? And so, when I think about, students who are not prepared, to be competent in math and in science, it's not a classroom issue. That's an economic one, right? And so we need to think about how do we build an adaptive workforce, and it starts early. And then secondly, if we think about the workforce and the pipeline of the future, it begins within the investment today, because today's students are tomorrow's innovators, tomorrow's CEOs, tomorrow's disruptors, right? And also adding value from a shareholder perspective, if we were really talking about that, an investment perspective for companies. And so we need students. New York City needs students. It builds a stronger economy and a better New York.
New York is a finance and tech hub. That's undeniable. And if we look at the career trajectory over the last maybe 10 years, tech has been the fastest or one of the fastest growing industries in New York. And so how are we preparing young people for those jobs? Because it is not merely an education issue. It really is an issue for our economy. If we want a strong New York economy, we actually need to have a strong workforce, strong leaders, and that begins with strong classrooms. And that's what we're building here. And you can't have strong classrooms. You can't have strong technology leaders. You can't have strong AI innovators if you don't have strong STEM skills. So science, technology, engineering, and math, those are the key areas. And so we at Teach for America New York are focused on 8th grade math, because we don't want to wait till they get to high school, wait till they get to college. We want to intervene as early as possible to make sure that they have strong footing, are on solid ground, and that they can compete, that they're prepared for the rigors of the high level math and science classes in high school and college, and that they can compete in industry and really just be the next generation of leaders that we need here in New York.
And I just want to touch on something you said earlier. You said that you see students as the most brilliant versions of themselves. How does that help empower students that you work with?
I've been privileged to spend the last nearly 30 years working in education, and the first, decade of that in classrooms. And I had so many students who society, community, the world would have counted them out as statistics. But I saw something within them. I saw a light within them. I saw a fire within them. I saw a passion within them. Not even potential, because potential means that maybe something is not missing, something's missing, or something's not realized. I saw power within them. And I think if each of our educators can see every single one of our students, not even just educators, it's each of us in this city, in this state, can see every single young person as the potential next leader, the potential next mayor, the potential next governor, the potential next CEO. If we can see that passion, that power, that fire within them, then we can cultivate that. We can stoke that so that they can believe it themselves. And eventually it will be true. And so I believe that it's up to us to plant those seeds, to nurture those seeds, and to help those seeds grow into the community that we all want and deserve for our young people.
What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much, Tia Morris and Kevin Pemberton from Teach from America New York. Thank you for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.